Hi guys, it's SimLicy here, so welcome to another speed build. So today I am building another family home, and this time I am building in this neighborhood of Oasis Springs. It's this very beautiful, green, almost tropical neighborhood of Oasis Springs. I love it over here. This is one of my favorite neighborhoods in the entire game, but I have a very hard time building over here. I've only built maybe a couple things that I've been really happy with in this neighborhood. One of those being that colorful Mediterranean house. I think that's what I called it, but it was across the street from this one on that, I think it was a 30 by 40 lot if I remember correctly. It was a huge house anyways, and I loved that one, and I really wanted to build something else that was very similar to that, only smaller. So finally I came up with something and I am so happy with it. I hope you guys will like it, because there are a couple houses here already. If you go into your game without having, any other builds, the Calientes live over here. They live on the lot that's to the left of this house. And then there was another house here that was completely empty. So I've tried going into the game and renovating them and trying to make them match the style of the house that I built before, because I really wanted to include that one in my save file. And the other houses, they just don't match it, and the whole neighborhood I think will look really weird. Maybe that's just me, but that's how I felt. So I decided to just completely bulldoze those houses, and I'm going to start from scratch, and this is going to be one of them. It's a very small family house. It's only a 2-bedroom. I mean, it's not a very big lot. It's like a 30 by 20 lot, so there wasn't a whole lot of space. I end up having a very cramped side yard, but there is a pool, there's a barbecue area, there's a couple of balconies and porches that I love. I think it looks so pretty, and I landscaped it like crazy. I went a little bit overboard with landscaping before I went to the interior, because I think for maybe 6 months or something, maybe a little bit longer, I've been really good about going onto the interior and figuring out the floor plan before I completely finish the exterior. But this one I got a little bit carried away, and I did have to make a few adjustments because the floor plan, you guys, was so difficult. It'll seem like it comes together really quickly in this video, but I struggled. I took such a long time trying to figure out this floor plan. I must have tried at least 6 different floor plans, but in the end, I did have to make the house a little bit bigger, just slightly on the back. We'll see that here in a moment. The back looks a little bit awkward, and I kind of wanted to leave it that way because I thought it gave the house a little bit of character, but it really made the interior kind of impossible because it was just a little bit too much of an awkward shape and a little bit too small. So we'll see that here in just a moment, but right now I'm just adding some of this ivy that came with Jungle Adventure to the exterior of the house. I love this ivy. It's so pretty, and the other Mediterranean style house that I've built in this neighborhood also has a bunch on it, so I think I'm just going to continue that with this neighborhood because I think it just makes it feel just really lush and really just overgrown and kind of jungly feeling, and I love that so much. And here in the front, I did put a fountain. I thought that would be really pretty, and I really enjoyed that when I was taking the screenshots. And I kind of just really like this whole driveway that I created in general. I think it's very pretty how it's lined with the palm trees, and then I do end up placing a mailbox, I think at the very end of the video, and adding just a few more plants. And then here in the back, I do create a top balcony with a porch on the bottom, and then I think on the top porch, I put a little seating area, a dining table, a yoga mat, and a bunch of plants. I should mention this. I kind of went a little bit plant crazy in this build. I got a little bit carried away, but if you guys have been around here for a while, you know that I am absolutely obsessed with plants. If you follow my Instagram, you know this even more because I share a lot of pictures of the plants that I buy. I'm just so obsessed. I just bought a bunch of flowers. I'm really excited about this. I bought a bunch of sunflowers and I think some stuff for hummingbirds. I forget all the ones that I bought, but I just bought seed packets, so hopefully they'll grow. I think that's going to be really pretty. If they do grow, I'll take pictures and share them with you guys. But yeah, I'm just so excited. And then for the bottom porch, I did put an outdoor dining space with a barbecue and a couple more plants. I also did a fire pit by the swimming pool. I thought that would be really nice, and I used some of those benches that we got with Jungle Adventure. I used a lot of Jungle Adventure in this build. I think Jungle Adventure, Seasons, Laundry Day, and Parenthood are probably the main packs in this build. Now, I didn't limit myself, but if I was to say the most packs that were used in this build, it'd probably be those ones, because I did use those a lot for the interior and the exterior. And then here I'm landscaping this side yard. I think this turns out to be a really nice space with the pathway leading up to the pool area. And of course, I landscaped it like crazy. I end up putting a few just pots out here for doing a bit of gardening, but there's not a whole lot of activities out here because It's a bit small and narrow, but I think it's still a nice use of the space, and I really do like it. I decided not to add any toys or equipment for kids to play in, but I do actually decorate a nursery in this build. So I kind of imagine that the family that lives here is a successful couple. They've kind of just focused on their careers and enjoying each other, but maybe they are getting ready to have a family, or maybe they would like to adopt. I'm not exactly sure. If you guys have any ideas, definitely let me know, because I will be creating a household to live in this house for my save file. And I did mention this a couple videos ago. I forget exactly which one, but I mentioned how I was just creating a bunch of households. I was having so much fun with that the other day. I was really just enjoying creating random characters and Sims for the save file. It's so much fun seeing this all come together. I'm just really enjoying it a lot. And I'm excited to continue on with this neighborhood because, like I've said, I really love this style. It's actually one of my favorite styles in real life, and I'm just really obsessed with it. So I'm very excited to see how this neighborhood comes together, and I'm glad that I decided not to renovate the houses that were here, because I feel like this neighborhood's really going to be kind of more personalized and a little bit my own. I think I could have done a good job renovating the houses that were here, but I feel like it's just going to be a little bit better me building them all by myself. But yeah, this is basically it for the structure of the house. But like I mentioned, I do make the house just slightly bigger, but it's fully landscaped before I do that. And if I could give you guys any advice for building, that would be one of the main pieces of advice. Definitely work out the floor plan before you do any landscaping, because it's very hard to make changes. I mean, it's not impossible, but it makes it a little bit difficult to make changes once you have like all of the exterior, all the landscaping laid out exactly the way you want it. Just makes it a little bit tricky. But here I am just decorating a little seating area. These couches came with seasons and I love them. I just used them in an apartment that I decorated, and I really wish, I know I mentioned it in that video if you guys watched it, but I really wish that we had like a full couch version of those, because I think they're so pretty and I think they'd be really nice to use in a lot more interiors. But I think because they're so small, it makes it a little bit tricky to use. I don't know. But here I am going through and making the house just a little bit bigger. So I'm messing with the roof, because at this point, you guys, I had tried doing so many floor plans. It was really very difficult. This was one of the most challenging floor plans that I have done in a while. It's still not perfect. It's still a bit awkward, but I think it's the best that I could do. I'm sure a lot of you guys could do better if you decide to play in this house. Feel free to go through and change up the floor plan as much as you would like, but I decided to move this door to the other side, and I'm really happy about that because I think it looks just a little bit better. I did like it in between those other windows, but with the awning and everything, I feel like it just works a little bit nicer. So originally I was planning on having the living room on this side of the house because the fireplace is over here, but I end up having it in the entryway. It's like completely different than I imagined the floor plan being, so I thought that was kind of funny. But I just switched up a couple of the windows, and I just add a little bit of these drain details just to add a little bit of something on the exterior, and I add a little bit more ivy just to make this wall feel a little bit more kind of full, because since I made the windows a little bit smaller and I made the house a little bit bigger, it just looked like a really kind of large empty wall. And that's not too big of a deal because there will be a house directly on, you know, right there on the other side of it. So it's not like, I don't know, it'll be blocked a little bit, I think is my reasoning behind that. But I did switch up the windows because I was going to have the kitchen on that side, and if I would have left those larger windows, they would have been covering up the counters would have been covering up the windows anyways, and I didn't really want to do that. But yeah, so here I am just making the seating area a little bit bigger. I put a dining table over here, and I used this one that's a 6-seater round umbrella table, whatever you want to call it, but I only put 3 seats at it. I thought it was really cute. I did put some dog toys out here. I did imagine that this family has at least 1 dog, maybe 2. I kind of feel like they've had dogs and now they're ready to have kids. Maybe that's what I'm thinking. I'm not exactly sure. I was going to put this pet bed out here, but I felt like it just looked a little bit awkward. I feel like we really need some prettier looking pet beds. They just look so flat and kind of just meh. Like they don't look that comfortable, so I end up not using them a lot of the time. And I just decided to put plants out here instead because I decided that was a better use of the space. And the dog can just lay on the couch if they would like to lay out here on the patio anyways, or on the ground, or wherever they would like to. And I also placed a yoga mat back here. I thought this would be such a nice spot to do a bit of yoga because there's this beautiful pond behind this build with like all of these fountains and fishing spots. It's so pretty. I really like it a lot. I could just imagine being out there doing some yoga or some reading, having some iced tea, and just like watching all the people fishing and the fountains. I think it would just be a really nice time. But here I am going on to the interior of the build. I'm just picking out some wallpapers and some flooring. I don't end up keeping this flooring because when I started like picking out some of the furniture, you'll see that here in just a second, I was kind of going for pretty neutral, kind of bland looking furniture, and I really wanted this house to have a lot more bright colors and patterns because I felt like that would just tie in really nicely with the exterior. And so when I started furnishing it, I decided that it wasn't really looking the way that I had imagined. But once I placed the coffee table from Jungle Adventure, it had these really bright wood colors in it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I need to do. So I switch up the flooring, I switch up the furniture, and this house just ends up having a really vibrant color scheme, and I just love it so much. But yeah, I switched to these floors. These are base game floors. I used to use them all the time, and recently I've been using them a lot more because I've been trying not to overly use the floors that came from Jungle Adventure and the ones that came with cats and dogs. The Jungle Adventure ones are my favorite floors, and I love the ones that came with cats and dogs. I think they look so pretty. But for base game floors, I think these ones are probably my favorite. I like almost every swatch that it comes in, and this one in particular is really vibrant, and I felt like it tied in really nicely with the coffee table and just the furniture and everything. But I got a chance to use these couches and chairs that came with Movie Hangout. I used that wicker love seat that came with that pack a lot, but I never really use these couches, and I like them, but I feel like they're a little bit hard to use because some of the colors are a little bit too crazy. There's a little bit too many patterns, but this one is nice and simple with just enough pattern on the cushions, and I felt like it just worked so nicely in this build. And then over here above the stairs, I create kind of a picture collage. I'm not exactly sure what to call it, but I felt like this just looked really nice, and I love the paintings that I chose. They look kind of a little bit Spanish, and I think they just all look so nicely together. And I was going to put some of these bird pictures up here. I think I end up using one somewhere in this build, I think maybe in the kitchen, because I was really inspired by my latest apartment renovation where I used one of those pictures, and I decided that I need to use those a lot more because I tend to only use them in apartments and occasionally builds, but I want to use them a lot more, and I really like the way I used it in that apartment because I layered it on a shelf and it looked like it was almost leaning on another picture. So I'm pretty sure I do it in the kitchen of this build, but we'll see in just a little while. But the living room has pretty much came together. I just put a bookcase over here and I put a few decorations on it, and I just really wanted it to look nice and cluttered and personalized, and I thought this snow globe of this kind of Mediterranean style house was perfect. And then over here by the front door, I put a side table with a mirror above it, and I also include that coat rack that we have from base game, and then the umbrella stand that came with Seasons, and then a few other decorations. I put some flowers and I think a lamp and just some random things on this table, but it ends up being a really nice space. And I didn't want to overly clutter up this entryway because you kind of just walk in and immediately you hit the furniture, so I didn't want it to be too crowded. I definitely wanted your Sims to be able to get in the house, and actually I did have a little bit of trouble having my Sim use the front door. So when I was playtesting this build, I did actually have to shuffle, I think, the plants that I put by the front door, or either the awning above it was actually blocking the front door. But I made a couple changes and everything seemed to work fine, and my Sim was able to eat and sleep in this house, so everything should work perfectly. The only thing that I did not test that may be a bit questionable is in the nursery, but I'll talk about that when we get on into that room. And then over here is the kitchen. I decided to use these cabinets that came with Parenthood. I thought this orangey wood would just go really nicely with this build because originally I was thinking about using the cabinets that came with Jungle Adventure, but I didn't feel like they came in the right color for this particular house. So I used these ones, and I'm so happy that I did because I think this kitchen area is so beautiful. But there above the kitchen sink is where I layered up a couple of those pieces of artwork with that bird collectible, feather collectible, whatever you want to call it. So that's what I was talking about in the living room. I just think that looks really nice. And then other than that, I just put a few other decorations on the counter. I have some dog treats over there because, like I mentioned, I imagine that they have a dog in this house. And then here on the island, I just have some fruit and some of these condiment jars of some ketchup and hot sauce and mustard. And I really like what I did with the island. It's kind of a different shape. Normally I would make it probably one big square, but I decided to just make it a little bit different. And I'm happy that I did because I think it looks pretty nice. And then over here I use this wall decoration that has all of these kind of coffee things. There's like French presses and different coffee decorations inside of it anyways, and then I just put this chalkboard above it with a few decorations. I wanted it to look like they were sitting on top of this coffee, I don't know what to call it. It's like a coffee wall hanging display, coffee shelf, something like that. But I feel like those decorations looked really nice up there. And then here underneath of it, I put a garbage can and then a couple of pet food bowls and this little mat underneath of it. I just sized it down because I felt like that mat was a little bit too big. Now this area ended up being a lot larger than I had realized it was going to be. So I do end up being able to fit a lot of different stuff over here. I have the dining table. I end up doing a love seat couch that came with the Caribbean update. I thought that looked nice in here. And then I also put a chess table over here and I think a bookcase. It was a really big dining room and I thought about closing it off and making it more of like a separate room from the kitchen. And normally I probably would do that, but I decided to leave it a little bit open because I felt like it was a little bit different than a lot of my other builds. I mean, the floor plan isn't too different than I've done before. It's pretty similar to some of my builds, but I still really like it, and I'm happy that I'm able to fit some other activities in here, like the chess table I thought was pretty nice. And then over here I got to use this table that also came with Movie Hangouts. So that's another pack that I didn't mention that I probably should have when I was talking about the packs that I used most in this build. Movie Hangout is another one that I definitely used a lot. But I put this side table over here. I love this side table. It's another one of those items that I don't use a whole lot, but when I do, I'm always happy that I do. But I put this painting above it. I thought the pops of like pinks and oranges with all the greens just worked so nicely in this build. But I put some cookbooks over there with this fishbowl and a lamp, and then that little tea light I thought was so pretty. And then over here, I was really not sure what I should put in these corners. I was going to use this bookcase, but I had already used it in the living room. And at this point, I was like, it'll be okay, but I decided that it looked a little bit too repetitive. I mean, here I am putting some decorations on it. I think these look nice, and I think it could have looked good if I hadn't already used it, but I decided to get rid of it. I put another bookcase over here next to the counters, and I also put this like kind of separation wall in between the cabinets and this wall right here, because once I started placing decorations next to the cabinets, I could really tell the stark contrast in between the tile and the regular wallpaper, and it was kind of driving me crazy. I could have put like a pillar there or something because I've done that before, but I decided to put the wall instead, and I think it looks pretty nice. And then there I just placed the other bookcase, got rid of this other one, and then I put this love seat over here underneath the windows. I thought this looked really pretty in here. I love those cushions on that couch. I think they're just so nice with the yellow and oranges. Those couches actually came in a lot of really nice swatches. But here I decided that I wanted to switch up the rug. I liked the one that I was using, especially the color of it. It was that one that came with Laundry Day, but I decided that it didn't take up enough of the space. I decided it should be a bigger rug anyways, so that's why I'm messing with it here. I think the rug that I end up going with is just a base game rug. I forget exactly which one I chose, but it takes me a while. I go through almost every rug imaginable, but yeah, that's the one that I go with. It's not perfect. The size I think is really nice for the space, but the color isn't perfect. I would have loved a more kind of reddy brown color, would have been a lot better. But here I'm just messing with the barbecue because I did move it once I changed the shape of the house. And then here on this little back mudroom, I put the washer and dryer. There's also the downstairs bathroom over here, so I was able to fit a downstairs bathroom, which I always try to do in every single build. It was kind of hard finding a spot for it, but I felt like it worked nicely over here. And I also included a stand-up shower, so this bathroom down here has the toilet and sink and a stand-up shower, and then the upstairs bathroom has the shower and tub combo. Since I imagine they had dogs, they would definitely need, you know, a bathtub, and then once their baby ages up into a toddler, they would definitely need a bathtub as well. I was going to fit this one down here, but it wasn't, I don't know, I thought it would have been nice to have like a clawfoot tub, but it really wasn't a big enough bathroom to be able to fit it in. But here I am just messing with the curtains. I was going to use the same curtains that I used in the rest of the build, but they kind of clipped into the shower, so it didn't look quite right. But yeah, this is basically it for the bathroom and basically it for the downstairs. Then we move on to the upstairs. So up here in this landing area, I decided to turn it into an office space. So I do a computer desk. I think I do another bookcase or two. I put a lot of bookcases actually in this build, so maybe somebody in this house should be a writer or something. but I really like the way this area turned out. I think it's pretty nice for an upstairs kind of office landing area, whatever you want to call it. But right now I'm just picking out some decorations to put here on the computer desk. I included that drawing tablet. I kind of was thinking that somebody in this build was into art, not necessarily professionally, but like as a hobby. So I also included the guitar. And then over here, I just put a couple pieces of artwork. I put this mirror and I also put this table underneath of it. And I end up using this decoration on top of it that I also used in the kitchen, but I never used this object. I think it is very pretty. You'll see it here in just a second. That thing, it came with Jungle Adventure. It's very pretty, but for whatever reason, I don't remember it that often, but I did remember it a couple times in this build. So this is going to be the upstairs bathroom. It is the only one upstairs. There's no ensuite bathroom. You could probably fit one if you would like to, but I didn't feel like it was necessary. So in here, I included the shower and tub combo like I mentioned. Here, I was trying to pick out a different door because I was going to do a different arrangement of the furniture in the bathroom, and then I was going to do a stand-up shower with the bathtub next to it, but I decided I wanted all the doors to match, and I still really like the bathroom. And then over here, I'm picking out some decorations to put on the bathroom counter. So I have some plants and of course the soaps and the toothbrushes. And yeah, it's a pretty simple bathroom, but I think it looks really nice. And then over here is going to be the master bedroom. And for this bedroom, it was kind of difficult because of the shape. So I do actually make it a little bit smaller and make the landing area just a little bit bigger. But I'm really happy with the way it turned out. I decided to use this bed in the red swatch. This is a base game bed that I think is unlocked through the artist career, if I remember correctly. I'm not exactly sure, but I thought it looked really pretty in here, especially with this rug that came with laundry day, because the reds I felt like just worked really nicely together, and it kind of had like this pop to it that I thought was really pretty. But here I am just moving the furniture around. I decided to move the dresser over here, and I still felt like the entryway to the bedroom was a little bit too big. So that's the part of the room that I make a little bit, just kind of pull it in just by a square, and I feel like that just makes it a little bit nicer. I also include another bookcase in here on the right side of the dresser in just a little while, because I felt like it would be kind of nice to have another one in here, and I felt like it just looked pretty in the space anyways. But there I just made the room just a little bit smaller, and then I just add a couple of decorations over here. Another bookcase. Yeah, I went a little bit crazy with the bookcases, so you could definitely replace them with something else. It's kind of like a plant and book house. There's lots of plants everywhere and lots of books, so I think it's really pretty anyways. And then there I just have a few decorations on the dresser, and then over here is the nursery. I love this nursery. They are some of my favorite rooms to decorate. I think they're so cute. I really hope that we get more items for nurseries though, and I have mentioned this several times, and people over on Twitter, even sim gurus, have started talking about babies a little bit more. I've heard a few things, or at least some conversations about it, so I hope that they update babies. That would be so exciting. I would love to be able to take them out and about and do a lot more with them, or even if they looked a little bit different from one another, I think that would add a lot to them too. But yeah, I think it's a nice nursery. I put a little seating area in here, a bookcase. But the one thing that I wanted to mention that might be a bit questionable, I did size up that, I'm not sure what you call it, that decoration that I hung from the ceiling above the bassinet. I forget exactly what you call that thing, but I sized it up so it might block the interactions between your Sims and the baby. So I would just delete it or make it smaller. You can make it smaller by hitting the left bracket key on your keyboard, and it'll just shrink it to its normal size, but that might cause a problem. I'm not exactly sure. You could probably also bring the bassinet a little bit further away, like a little bit, so it's not so underneath of it. That might also work, but I didn't play test it. I'm sorry if it doesn't work, but here I am going into the debug menu. I pulled out that baby bottle because recently I mentioned how I've been going through the debug menu a little bit more, trying to find different things to add in my builds. So I pulled out that building block. There's also a toddler book in there that I thought would be cute. And yeah, this is basically it for the nursery. I think it's just a really adorable room. And then here I'm going back onto the exterior to add a few other decorations. I also put a few things here on the front porch, but this is basically it for the build. I hope you guys have enjoyed this one, and I hope you guys do enjoy the screenshots. But yeah, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and please leave any comments or suggestions that you have, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye!
Close eyes till the sun come down. I keep on waiting, waiting. You must have lost my number, answer me now. I'm just waiting, waiting, waiting. I'ma get through to you. So eyes till the sun come down. I'll keep on waiting, losing.